I have been struggling with a gender identity since I was about 7 years old. I really like who I am, but it's a daily challenge for me, and I don't quite know how to address it.
Well, we don't struggle with gender identity because gender is inconsequential from an energy standpoint. In other words, when we view humans or anything that is physical, we see the energy of it, and we note that the energy of what you call male and female is equal in all things. And so the gender identity only becomes significant in a comparative environment, but really you can make it irrelevant from your physical format as it is irrelevant from your non-physical format if you want to. We think that it would be easier to do that if you are really accepting what we've been talking about here today, about the only thing that is really important to you is where you are in relationship to where you want to be. And if you could leave everybody else, all the peanut gallery, so to speak, out of the equation. But it's not easy to be in a physical body where you're not only looking out at others, but others are looking back at you without factoring in what they think about you or what you think about them thinking about you. In other words, all of that sort of becomes part of the vibration. So often, powerful teachers come forth different than most others they know, because the most significant thing in our view, which is we know everything, the most significant thing in coming into a physical experience is understanding that diversity is the platform from which all evolution springs forth. Humans, especially loudly today, doesn't mean that all are like that or even most are like that, but the voices that are the loudest right now in this environment would like to take the ideas that exist and whittle them down to just a few good ideas, and then they'd like to take credit for those ideas. The true nature of your being is to acknowledge the ideas that exist and expand them still further. And so every now and again, in fact, it's happening in large numbers now, people are being born into bodies and into conditions and situations where they just have driving impulses that are different from what everybody else expects them to have. And the reason that they do that is because they want to make a statement that says, I am not a condition that you can force into conformity in order to serve your purpose of loving conditionally. Now think about what a service to humanity that is. Someone says, I want to love, and when I look there, it's easy for me to love, but when I look at you, I cannot love because you aren't the way I need you to be in order for me to love you. So you need to be different than you are so that I can love you. And so you, in your desire to help someone love, because that's your true nature, you say, all right, I'll stand on my head in as many different ways as I can in order to help you feel better. And so you teach them something that doesn't serve them. You teach them that they can just run around and bully everybody to be the way they need them to be. But you teach them failure because they're not going to get everybody, they're not even going to get most everybody to conform in the way that they need them to. And what they really wanted all along is the unconditional love that comes from understanding that you can line up with source energy without asking anyone or anything to conform in any way. Because your alignment is only about the way you focus your thoughts. It really doesn't have anything to do with anybody else. So to make this very long story a little shorter, we would say, some of you come forth determined not to let them pound a square peg into a round hole anymore. You come forth saying, I am that which I am, and I will not be different than I am to please you. And if you don't like it, it's your problem, not my problem. You see?
Yes.
And that's not just about sexuality. It's about everything. You came forth as individuals. We like to say that you came into this well-stocked kitchen. And it would be like saying, well, I'm going to make an apple pie, and I don't see any need to have Tabasco sauce in my pie. And apple pies are all I like to eat, by the way. So being the powerful influencer of this world that I am, I think that the Tabasco sauce should be taken out of the kitchen. And we say, oh, why not leave it in the kitchen? Just don't put it in your pie. And they say, oh, well, if it's in the kitchen, it could get in my pie. And we say, no, it can't. It can't get in your pie unless you put it in your pie. And they say, I'm worried that it will get in my pie. I've seen it in others' pies. And I know for sure I don't want it in my pie. And as long as it's in the kitchen, it has the potential of getting in my pie. So I think we should get it out of the kitchen. How many of you do not want Tabasco sauce in your pie? Let's vote to have Tabasco sauce eradicated from the kitchen. And we say, why in the world does it matter what's in the kitchen? Just don't put it in your pie. And then they say, see, it got in my pie. And we say, but it's only in your pie because you were giving attention to it and you sprinkled it in your own pie. And they say, I would not have put that in my pie. I don't like that in my pie. And it's clearly in my pie, which means somebody else put it in my pie, which means now I'm powerless because things can get in my pie that I would not put in my pie. And we say, no, they can't. Things can't get in your pie without you putting them in your pie. And they say, I've said no to Tabasco sauce in my pie right from the beginning of stepping into the kitchen. I've always said no about it. And we say, but no means yes in a vibrational universe. Everything you shout no at, you put in your pie. People don't want to hear that. They want to be able to shout no and make it go away. And sometimes you say, I think I'll be born in such a powerful mindset that they won't be able to just shout no at me and make me go away. I won't get in their pie. I have nothing to do with their pie, but I have the right to my pie. Good.
Thank you.
Esther looks at Kate, granddaughter, 3 years old, and love just comes out of Esther effortlessly. What's not to love? Telephone rang. Esther answered it. It's Kate. Hi, Kate, Grandma says. Kate says, I want to talk to Jerry. Esther gives the phone to Jerry, and Kate says, I love you. And Jerry says, I love you too. And Esther melted into pure connection. In other words, what could be more connecting in nature than the words of a child who is connected to source? And then we say to Esther, we don't want Esther's feeling of connection to be contingent upon anyone, not even Kate. Because as lovable as Kate is, she did ask for Jerry. And as lovable as Kate is, there are others not lovable. And if Esther's connection to source is dependent upon anything other than her known formula for aligning with source, then she can't control her own reality, you see. Mm-hmm. Oh, relationships are so meaningful. They will stir you up in so many different ways, and they will cause you to ask so many questions. But let the relationship, no matter what it is, be what it is meant to be. It is meant to be the stimulation for desire to be born within you. And then it's your work to get in sync with it. And as you get in sync with it, the relationship will unfold and blossom in wonderful ways. But you're not here for the relationship with others. You're here for the relationship with Source. And from that relationship with Source, all kinds of meaningful other things will happen. Joy first, and anything else you have time for.
Thank you.
Yes, indeed.